Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Huge reveals tonight. We get the cover support for the next core set after not Rage of the Abyss, but Supreme Darkness. So this is the next core set after Supreme Darkness Alliance Insight. We had no idea what archetype this was going to be. I saw a lot of people kind of comparing this set to Duelist Alliance, which is historically one of the best core sets you've ever seen, and it had Odd Eye support on it, so a lot of people thought Odd Eye support back and in that kind of category, just to kind of be a parallel, because we did just get Rage of the Abyss recently, and Sharks were the cover for the old Rise of the Abyss, I think, and in this time, Rage of the Abyss, it was also Sharks, so they thought that might be the case. It's not. It's Ignister support. Kind of out of left field for sure. This is an archetype that I think is still not that far out of the competitive eye. So I do think it's a deck that has a lot of pieces. And if they really give them some good stuff here, we could totally be looking at a legit like Ignister, good strategy going forward. So let's get into this thing. We had a bunch of cards to go through. I don't want to waste too much time with the intro here. Starting off here, we start with Wizard Ignister. He's cool. I like his design. Good combination of CYBERSE and just also Spellcaster. But he is a level 4 Dark CYBERSE. He has 1800 attack, 800 defense. You can only use his first and second effects once per turn. If you control a CYBERSE monster special summoned from the extra deck, that's really easy because there's just a million CYBERSE Link 1s. You can target a Dark CYBERSE monster in your graveyard. Special summon both this card from your hand and that monster in defense position. Also, you cannot special summon for the rest of this turn except CYBERSE monsters. Pretty interesting. This is a pretty good extender. The only flaw with this card, and it's honestly not that big of one, because Ignister's main Link 1 is a Dark. So theoretically, any Ignister monster can get you into him, and then if you can just link him off or get him to grave somehow while still having a CYBERSE extra deck monster on field, so link up into a Link 2 presumably or something like that, you would then be able to use this guy. He's a pretty decent extender overall because he gets himself on field and he pulls the monster back from grave. It's interesting. I could see this card being part of like combo lines, but he doesn't seem like the most flexible extender. He does require you to start kind of get the ball rolling, which is not my favorite type of extender to modern day Yu-Gi-Oh! They can be dead if you get stopped too early. So I do get like weirded out with stuff like that, but still not a bad card overall. Alright, second effect, you can banish this card from your field or graveyard, then target a monster your opponent controls, change its battle position. Okay, you're never banishing this from the field to change a battle position, but sure, from grave, like I guess that could come up to potentially punch over something really big or get over something with a small defense stat, something like that, but nothing crazy here. Cool extender, though, could come up in certain combo lines, but he doesn't seem like more than a one-of to me. This card kind of screams one-of like just he's just a combo piece that you need to get enough bodies on the field. Next up, we have Backup Ignister, so a new version of Backup Secretary. This is cool because the other Backup Secretary is just so mid, it's crazy. She's like the quintessential mid extender you've ever seen. This is a level 3 Dark CYBERSE tuner this time, so that's a little bit different here. 1200 attack, 800 defense. Ignister has access to like every summoning mechanic basically, so yeah, more tuners for them does not hurt. Also with like potentially CYBERSE Wicked lines as well, maybe, I don't know. 1200 attack, 800 defense, you can only use the first 2 effects per turn. If you control a CYBERSE monster, special summon for the extra deck. So we're seeing that as a common theme, which is interesting. You can special it from the hand. Cool, that's pretty easy. And then if this card is normal or special summoned, you can add a Dark CYBERSE monster from your deck to your hand, then discard 1 card. Okay, now we're talking. So this is basically Backup Secretary. A little bit worse than Backup Secretary just with the extension effect, but still overall pretty good. And then you get to search for any Dark CYBERSE and you get to discard it from there. That's really interesting because if you could search this guy and then discard a card, and I think, what is she? She's also a Dark CYBERSE, so she actually connects you to him pretty well. There's got to be other just decent Dark CYBERSE monsters. I don't know all of them off the top of my head, but there's got to be a couple decent ones there. That actually does leave the deck a little bit open to possibilities for sure, but very interesting. That seems like a pretty good card. This one actually seems like just a pretty good extender overall. Next up we have Kurikulink. At Ignister, level 1 Dark CYBERSE, 300 attack, 200 defense. This is just main deck Linkuribo, I guess. Or Linguribo. You can only use the first and second effects of this card once per turn. Quick effect, tribute one Ad Ignister monster to special summon this card from your hand or grave, but banish it when it leaves the field. Okay, so quick effect. And it does tribute its cost, so this card could actually be kind of nasty. If you can just get this to hand or put it in grave like super early, it allows you to dodge targeting negation and removal. Kind of cool. Second effect, when a card or effect is activated that targets a CYBERSE monster you control and you control a CYBERSE monster special summoned from the extra deck, quick effect, you contribute this card, negate that effect. Yeah, I mean, I think we've learned that just any of these cards that read like they're a negate, but then they just threw the clause in there that says that targets one of your cards, it kills the card. This card would have been better if it just said, like, your opponent cannot target your Ad Ignister cards or your CYBERSE cards. It would have been better than the negate. Because you also have to give this card up as a body, you have to tribute it. Its summoning condition tributes itself. I could still maybe see a world where you play this if we're in just like a super heavy Veiler Imperm-esque format, and we just like need to dodge certain things on like certain choke points. But outside of that, I really don't see this card being that good. If this was just a straight negate, I'd be way more interested in it, but I understand not making such an accessible card in the deck have that kind of effect. But yeah, just okay. This one doesn't impress me. It's the worst of the three, I think. Alright, next up we have Firewall Saber Dragon. We're into the extra deck here. This is a Cyber Synchro monster. As I said, Ad Ignister messes around with a bunch of different types of extra deck monsters. There's also a Firewall, which could also matter, because doesn't, like, the Firewall archetype have some cool cards that deal with specifically Firewall monsters? That could be interesting. Alright, this is a level 7 Dark CYBERSE, 2300 attack, 2000 defense. The deck also deals in having 2300 attack extra deck monsters. Completely generic to make for a synchro. You can only use all three of its effects once per turn each. First effect, if this card is synchro summoned, target a CYBERSE monster in your grave or banish, add it back to your hand. Okay, cool. That's just a resource back to the hand. It's probably dead in this deck for that turn, but it does cycle it, so that's still a plus. Second effect, you can target one other CYBERSE monster you control that has a level. This card's level that monster's. I'm gonna say that translation is trying to say that this card changes its own level to the level of that monster. So I know Ad Ignister has some rank 4, so I'm assuming you would be able to like target a level 4, change this card's level to 4, so that way it can be used as an Xyz material potentially. And if this card is sent to the graveyard as link material, you can add one AI spell for your deck to hand. That's actually pretty good. The AI spells are the playable ones. I don't even think the deck has like a real playable trap, but they have a Rhoda type spell. I think they have at least 2 different like reborn types of spells, so more extenders. That's actually not terrible. So summoning this, it is kind of like a plus, right? It's just kind of like maybe a link climb tool where you make this, you use this to make something else. You're adding back a CYBERSE and you're adding an AI spell to keep going. So that's pretty good value, I think, overall. Next up, we have Code Igniter. This is a new dark rank 4 CYBERSE Xyz monster, 2300 attack, of course, 2 level 4, so again, completely generic. 3 hard ones return effects. If this card is Xyz summoned, you can add a CYBERSE ritual monster from your deck to your hand. Ooh. Yeah, I don't know if we're playing that. I don't know if we're playing that. The rituals are just not that good. Like, it's just weird. You're throwing so many bricks into your deck just to, like, use the rituals. I don't know. Second effect, you can detach a material from this card to ritual summon one ritual monster from your hand by tributing monsters from your hand and or field whose total levels equal or exceed its level. This card doesn't say rank, that it's able to use its own rank as counting as a level, so I think this card's pretty bad. I don't even know the level of the ritual the deck plays, but like if it was 4, theoretically, if this card's effect said it could count itself as levels instead of ranks, that would be kind of nice, because then like by itself it would get the CYBERSE monster on the field. But alas. And then if this card is sent to the graveyard as link material, you can add an AI trap from your deck to your hand. I'm assuming there's going to be one here, but like I said before, there is not a good enough one to play. So maybe that could be interesting, but we'll see. And finally, we have a big Link 5 guy. Why does this guy look like Buster Blader? Why does this look like they took like a Accode Talker and gave him a Buster Blader skin? Am I crazy? Or is this just Buster Blader skin? Let me know if I'm crazy or not. Anyway, this is Accode Talker at Ignister. So it's a Accode Talker and an at Ignister at the same time. It's a Link 5 Dark CYBERSE 2300 attack. It points left, bottom, bottom right, and right. So that like 5 U shape. 3+ effect monsters, so fairly generic here as well, but yeah, just any 3 or more monsters. You can only use the second effect once per turn. If this card is Link summoned, you can activate this effect. You cannot special summon other monsters for the rest of the turn. Oh, for the rest of the turn, period. Also, special summon as many CYBERSE monsters with 2300 attack from your graveyard as possible to your zones this card points to. And if you do, this card gains 500 attack for each. When your opponent activates a card or effect, you can tribute 1 Link monster this card points to, negate the activation, and if you do, banish that card. Holy, wait, this card is a house, man. This card's actually crazy. I'm trying to think about this. So, wow, there's actually a couple applications. This could apply to other decks too. This card, so this is the final card you're making, but it reborns as many CYBERSE monsters with 2300 attack or more as possible. It's interesting to note that because this says it has to reborn to the zones this card points to, this card does not handle Nib. If your opponent chains Nib to this card's activation, you lose this card and you can't reborn the monsters. The only way that would work is if you summoned this to the EMZ basically, and it already was pointing to a Link monster, so that way you already had something to tribute to negate. Otherwise, if you're summoning this and have no Link that it's already pointing to, if your opponent chains Nib, it removes this, and because you have no zones anymore opened up, you can't summon any of those monsters back. But still, this is just an Omni that's also reborning, you know, probably 3. At least 3, if not at least 2, 2300 attack point monsters from Grave. Which is really strong. I think that has some Malice applications. I think all 3 of the main Malice Link 3s all have 2300 attack. I think, obviously, there are some Accode Talkers where this is pretty relevant for. If you go through Transcode, if you go through whatever, you know, Heat Soul even, right? You can reborn those. That's pretty good. And then obviously in this deck, and then just being an Omni, not only an Omni, but an Omni that banishes, pretty strong. Especially if you're going to have at least 3 monsters this points to. This is a hard to turn effect, but you negate something on your opponent's turn, then like you're still going to have it live for your next turn. It's really good. That's a pretty interesting card. Pretty good boss monster, I feel like. All right, this is TAIES. I don't even know how to pronounce this. Normal spell card. You can only activate 1 card with this card's name per turn. Reveal a CYBERSE monster in your hand, then apply this effect based on its attribute. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn after this card resolves, except CYBERSE monsters. So if you reveal a Dark CYBERSE, then you special the monster you revealed, and if you do, you add a non-dark level 4 or lower CYBERSE monster from your deck to your hand. That seems crazy. You get to pull the guy you showed out of your hand and then still search any non-dark level 4 or lower CYBERSE? Huh. Second effect, if it's non-dark, you shuffle the revealed monster back into the deck, and if you do, you add 1 Ignister monster with a different attribute from your deck to your hand. So the second effect's not terrible, but it's clearly not as good. I mean, like, to be fair though, this is a deck where we already probably consider Signet Mining, which is already like low-key a -1 to like just search any level 4 or lower. At least you have the possibility of having this card with a dark and like going pretty plus and getting good extension out of it. That seems pretty good. This card's not terrible. Again, it depends on like your deck composition and stuff. Oh, low-key. Hold on, you've got, is this light? This is light at Ignister? Dude. Where's Armatos Legio? Give us Armatos Legio, please. Anyway, cool card. Interesting, consistent card. I mean, we already have Signet Mining, and this archetype already has its own AI search card that basically searches any ad Ignister, so I don't know how truly crucial this card is, but it's interesting. And then lastly, I think we finish here. Yeah, we finish here with a trap card here. I knew we'd have a trap. This is P-A-I Artners. I don't know, man. I don't know how I'm supposed to read this archetype when they do shit like this. All right, normal trap card. You can only use the first and second effects of this card each once per turn. Target face-up cards your opponent controls equal to the number of CYBERSE monsters you control with 2,300 original attack. Negate their effects until the end of this turn. Okay. I mean, to be honest, like this card, you only need to have one 2,300 monster on the field to really make this card do what it mainly is going to do, which is supposed to give you another layer of interaction aside from the monsters on your field. CYBERSE decks tend to just try and put a million CYBERSE big monsters on the field, but being able to add layers, like having... can't remember the guy that the deck already has. Is it Don Mari in Grave? He's like a negate from Grave, so he's like hard to like for your opponent to like, even if they Dark Ruler you or whatever, like he's still in Grave and he can still hit your opponent there. And then you have, and so like this card just being able like to be an extra layer in the back row, again, helps you work around board breakers and stuff like Dark Ruler. In fact, you can just straight up negate Dark Ruler, so that way your other negates are still live, your other interruptions are, so that's cool. Second effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one of your banished CYBERSE monsters, special summon it. Yep, that's not bad either. That's decent follow-up. The deck definitely gets monsters banished for sure. All in all, pretty interesting. This was not what I was expecting at all, especially since like Ignister has been like a rogue deck for like the last couple of years. I feel like in the last calendar year it hasn't really been that great, but I feel like for years prior you just see it pop up here and there at regionals and stuff over and over again, because it summons hard to deal with towers. It is a deck that like can fit a good amount of non-engine normally, and like it could just kind of thrive in that scenario. But yeah, I think Wizard is an interesting combo piece potentially to raise the ceiling of the deck. I think backup at Ignister seems like a pretty good extender overall, like the search and the extension and the search, so like pretty good that it's like an extender that's also getting you even further from there. I like that it discards, by the way, after you add, so it low-key, you low-key could just say, oh, this is just a Foolish Burial for a Dark CYBERSE, right? Like, that's pretty cool. This card I'm not so sure about. Again, like, really the only purpose I really see for this card that's, like, actually worth it is using it to, like, dodge targeting effects with the first effect. I don't even really care that much about the second effect. It's really not enough to me. Especially to, like, give up a body on field just to get it out. Like, I don't know. It's not even, like, a free extender. It's, like, a neg 1 extender. Firewall Saber, interesting card, right? Because it adds back on summon and then adds a spell when it uses link material, which I would assume you're trying to do. So, you know, as long as it's, like, easy enough, like, you know what I mean? It's a more resource-oriented synchro, where I think the deck was already going through the other wind synchro level 7 because it like punished your opponent if they ever destroyed anything on your board. So this one's just a little more resource oriented rather than like protection oriented. Code Igniter, I don't really see it. Like, I guess maybe there's a world where you could use this card as your way to search the new trap card, but I don't know if that's enough, to be honest, to make this card worth it. And then this guy may be the cream of the crop, to be honest. This guy in the backup Secretary extender, those seem like the two biggest cards to me, especially because this card has applications in like a couple of different decks that are CYBERSE based. So very curious to see if this guy actually has like big application. Like, I wonder if there's legitimately a world where Malice looks at this card and goes, oh, we're not going for Firewall Dark Fluid anymore, we're just going to make this guy and summon all of our CYBERSE girls back, all three of our Malice Link 3s. Like, that seems really strong, potentially. And then the Omni on top of that, that's pretty good. I don't know. And then, yeah, the Spell and Trap are fine. They're not, like, out of this world to me. I don't know if the deck really needs them necessarily, but they're there. So all in all, that's where I'm at. I've never played Ignister myself, but I've taken a look at them in a couple years ago. But this stuff definitely helps. There's definitely some tools here that they might attempt to abuse. Very curious to hear from somebody who actually like has played the deck and like their thoughts on these cards and how much they push the deck, but still pretty cool, honestly. Like, listen, I know a lot of people were looking forward to Odd Eyes, but like it seems like that Pendulum generation of Yu-Gi-Oh anime is like the least popular one to fans, so you know, I'm okay with this one. I like Ignister, so I'm cool with it. Hopefully if you are a fan of that stuff, you'll get it at some point, but we're here. So I'm out of here today. Thank you so much for watching, as always, guys. Let me know your thoughts down below on these cards in the comment section down below. And subscribe to the channel for more news videos as we go. I expect to have a couple weeks before we get any more Alliance Insight reveals. So this is going to be like the beginning of it, and then we'll have a couple weeks, and then they'll pick up in probably December. But a good start, a fun start, I think, to a new set for sure. But I'll keep you updated as more stuff comes. Thanks for watching. Peace.